Morenci, Michigan, United States, is quiet as Thanksgiving weekend begins. It is supposed to be a routine holiday visit between a father and his 3 sons. Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner Skelton are seen together for the last time. There is no sign of urgency, no visible conflict, only a normal exchange before a return home. But the next morning, the timeline breaks. The children do not come back. Their belongings remain behind. Their absence is immediate and complete. And the last person known to be with them cannot explain where they went. The night begins like any other scheduled visit, controlled and expected. The children arrive with routine familiarity, carrying nothing unusual. There is no visible tension at the moment of exchange. Everything appears structured and temporary. The plan is simple. They will spend time with their father and return the next day. But timelines only work when every step follows the plan. Inside the house, there are no immediate signs of disruption, no broken objects, no forced entry, no indication that anything has gone wrong. The environment remains intact. But absence does not always leave visible damage. The first sign is not what is seen, it is what fails to happen. Morning arrives, and the children do not return. Calls begin. Expectations turn into concern. Concern turns into uncertainty. And uncertainty begins to reshape the previous night. Because the last confirmed moment is now the only reference point. Everything after that becomes unclear. The timeline begins to narrow around a single point of control. The last confirmed location is no longer just a detail. It becomes the center of the investigation. The children were inside the house that night. There is no verified sighting of them leaving. No neighbor reports movement. No unusual activity is recorded. But absence without observation creates a gap, and gaps allow multiple possibilities. The father becomes the only direct link to that missing time. His account introduces movement. He describes a trip taken during the night, a drive away from the house, a destination that cannot be verified. But the timeline does not expand with that explanation. It contracts further, because no external confirmation supports the claim. No cameras, no witnesses, no trace of the children at the stated location. And when a timeline depends on a single version of events, it becomes unstable, because there is no second point to hold it in place. As the account is examined, the details begin to shift under pressure. The route described does not produce confirmation. The destination does not produce evidence, and the time between departure and return becomes difficult to measure, because no independent marker exists along that path. No timestamp, no interaction, no physical trace that can be verified. The movement remains entirely internal to one narrative, but investigations rely on external anchors. Without them, movement cannot be confirmed. It can only be claimed. Attention returns to the house, to the last fixed location, to the place where the timeline was still intact. Inside that boundary, nothing appears disturbed, no signs of struggle, no disruption to the environment. But absence without disruption creates a different kind of problem, because it removes the moment of transition, and without that moment, the timeline has no visible break, only a sudden end. investigators begin to separate what is known from what is stated. The confirmed timeline ends inside the house. Everything after that depends on a single account, and that account introduces distance. It introduces movement away from the last verified point. But distance without evidence creates uncertainty, because movement should leave markers, time should produce interaction, and travel should generate traces, but none appear. No confirmed stop, no record of presence, no physical indication that the children were ever at the claimed destination. Instead, the timeline remains fixed at the house, and everything beyond that becomes unverified extension. This shifts the focus back again, not to where the children might have gone, but to where they were last known to be. Because when a timeline cannot expand outward, it collapses inward. And when it collapses inward, the final location becomes more critical. But that location still shows no disruption, no transition, no clear point where the situation changed, only a boundary where information stops. Search efforts begin with the assumption that movement occurred. Routes are considered. Distances are mapped. Possible locations are identified. But each location depends on the same unverified account. And without confirmation, each path becomes hypothetical. Teams expand outward from the house. They look for any sign that supports the claimed journey. But no physical evidence connects the children to those areas. No objects are found, no clothing, no indication that they were ever present. The search begins to return empty results, and empty results begin to carry meaning. Because absence across multiple locations suggests something else. It suggests that the movement itself may not have occurred. Attention shifts again, back to the origin point, back to the last confirmed space. Because when outward searches produce nothing, the focus returns inward, to what can still be examined, to what remains within control. But even there, nothing changes. The house remains unchanged, and the timeline remains incomplete. As the search fails to expand the timeline, pressure builds on the remaining account. Statements are revisited. Details are compared. Inconsistencies begin to surface. The described sequence does not align with measurable time. The duration of travel appears unclear. The order of events becomes difficult to fix. And without fixed points, the narrative begins to shift. Because each clarification introduces a new variation, and each variation weakens the original structure. The investigation starts to focus on internal contradiction, not what is missing, but what changes. Because stable accounts do not require adjustment, but unstable ones do. Attention narrows further, from location to sequence to intention. Because when movement cannot be confirmed, intent becomes the next question. And intent does not leave physical evidence, it must be inferred. But inference without confirmation creates another gap, and that gap keeps the timeline unresolved. The investigation reaches a point where physical evidence cannot extend further. No confirmed location beyond the house is established. No verified movement is accepted. The timeline remains fixed at its final known point, and everything beyond that becomes interpretation. This shifts the case into a different phase, from reconstruction to inference. Because without new evidence, the sequence cannot be rebuilt, only evaluated. Attention settles on what can be proven. The children were last seen at the house. No confirmed departure exists. No external confirmation supports an alternative location. This creates a closed boundary, and within that boundary, the unknown remains, because the moment of transition is still missing. The point where presence becomes absence is still undefined, and without that point, the timeline cannot continue. It can only stop, leaving the final question unresolved. Not where they went, but what happened inside the last confirmed moment.